So there we go. We're live. Okay. So I got a couple things I got to do because I'm like slightly behind. So I do have, actually do it here. I'll show you. I have some scraps. There we go. Tongue twister. That I'm going to save here for a stock. So I have some onion. I have some carrots, some celery, all things that we're putting into our sauce that we're building our sauce with, but I want to make a vegetable stock. So I got to put this in my bag of kind of scraps that I'm keeping. And I have some asparagus, which generally I don't recommend. It's pretty strong to make a stock, but if I'm making it just for me and I only use it certain ways, that's okay. All right, first thing got to do is get this squash in the oven, because that's got to cook. We can make our sauce fairly quickly, but we got to come along and do that way. So actually we could start the sauce first. So let me grab a couple things there. We're going to grab some olive oil. And we can start sauteing our veg here. So let's spin around and let's come here. Now this pot is on. It's hot. Should be hot, I hope. So just a little bit of olive oil. And we have all of our base ingredients kind of ready to go. So in this bowl, I have some garlic. I have some carrots, some onion, some celery. All that's going in. In the back here, let me just make sure I got all this here. I'm going to put in a pinch of salt just to help break this stuff down. There's nothing like the smell of that getting started. But this is going to take a few minutes to break down, so we're going to let this be. I do have some lentils that I cooked. So these lentils are going to, we're going to use this to kind of build up our sauce so they're cooked. We're not going to cook them again. I will add them towards the end. Now, one thing we have to do, and we're going to actually come over here, is we have to break down we have to break down our squash and get that in the oven. Now, this is obviously going to be our pasta. So what I'm going to do is grab a spoon. And we're just going to scoop out all the seeds. And we're going to save these seeds. We're going to actually toast them and add them to our salad when they're done, or when we're done. But we have a little bit of time for that. So what I want to do, just try to get out what I can. And we'll clean these off in the sink in a little bit. All right. Now, this one half, we're going to put it face down, and I'll show you what it looks like in a minute, because we're going to get this other half done. Okay. Almost. All right. So I got them face down here on this tray. And I'll talk about the silicone mat in a second because I think it's actually pretty cool. I actually just got these, but they're and I just got some seeds here. But they're great for baking. So like if you use parchment paper, this is a great alternative because you could use it instead of parchment paper. And these are reusable, so you could just clean them in the sink. So I'm going to pop this in the oven, which is set to 400. And that's going to take anywhere between 35 and 45 minutes. I'm going to check a little earlier than that. It says 401, so 435. We will check. I would prefer it to be a little bit underdone than over because there is going to be a hot sauce that's going on top of this. We're going to give our veggies a stir here. We're going to let this cook for a second while I just kind of clean off these seeds. But I hope you guys are having a good day. So this is one of my favorite meals. I know it's officially spring. We're going to get brighter, but this is like one of my favorite go-to dishes. Particularly, you know, if you're trying to get people to eat more plants and you want to bring like a savory, you know, rich kind of meaty flavor, I think this is one of the best ways to do it. There's a lot of flavor you can develop very quickly. Now you can alternatively cook this much longer than we're going to, but in my opinion, this quicker way works really well too. It's obviously less time, and we could use some of our favorite ingredients to build more depth of flavor in a very quick way relative to making an original Bolognese, which is going to take you usually hours. We're going to do it about 35, 40 minutes. So I'll take that when I can. You know, the fact you can make something like this a weeknight dinner, I think, you know, brings a lot of value, especially to, you know, the home cooks we have out here. You know what I do need? Apologies for 1 second. Just have to looking for something. I want to make sure I have everything I need. I know I got most of my ingredients out. I want to make sure I don't miss anything. Oh, see, I have these walnuts that I got to chop. So I'm going to do two things. One, or first, I'm going to get one of these small glass containers. Is while that's cooking, we're going to add our mushrooms in a minute. Let me just see where I'm at here. We have this glass container here. What I'm going to do is add in our seeds. Now we're going to roast these in the oven, but we don't need that much time for them. So I'm just going to season them and kind of set them to the side for now. So I have this big bag of pepper that I've had for a while, to be honest. A little salt. A little bit of olive oil. Just a touch. Good. I'm going to give that a stir. Actually, I'm going to just crack my window very quickly. Open, but I want it open a little bit more. It's airflow in here. So I'm going to set these aside. Ooh. Come on. Just going to give them a mix. We'll pop these in the oven a bit later. And this is just basic, but I always recommend saving squash seeds because they're incredibly versatile. They're super flavorful. And they're packed with nutrients. So let's come back over here. You can see we're getting some nice brownish color on our base layer ingredients here, which is good. Now, I bring in the mushrooms, and this is going to take a little longer because we got what looks like a lot of mushrooms. So these are going to break down. So I'm going to cook these down for a bit here. We need a little bit of that salt again. Okay, just to kind of help break these mushrooms down. I'm also going to add a touch of water. To kind of prevent burning at the bottom here. You know, I'll break these down. Again, mushrooms, they're going to reduce by at least half in size. And we just want to get these incorporated, you know, with the rest of our ingredients. But there's one other ingredient that we got to add to get this working here, and that's the walnut. So, come back over here. There we go. I do have about a cup of walnuts. And we're just going to give these a chop. And I'll put them in a bowl here. I'll rinse out this cup. I'll use that bowl later. And we'll talk a little bit kind of as and we want to cut these walnuts pretty fine. Reason being, we want to get that kind of mimic of that meaty kind of flavor and that texture, and the walnuts kind of help with the texture component if you cut them fine enough. And with the sharp knife, you can get that fairly easily. Now, like I said, this is an abridged version. Now, usually around this time when I make this, I will add some red wine. I am not adding red wine today, mostly because I don't have it. Not because I wanted to omit it or I wanted to do a different version. It's just because I don't have any. But there's other little tricks and hacks you can use to kind of make up for that. So you can already see, and we'll get to that because that's going to be towards the end. You can already see these mushrooms are already giving off a lot of that water. We just want to make sure that all of the mushrooms are cooking down. Now we want to go for a bit longer here before we get to that. So while that's going, I'm just going to do a little bit of housekeeping in the background. And while our sauce cooks, we're going to make a salad so that will go on the side of what we're doing. I'm just going to rinse out a couple of these bowls. Because we're going to reuse them. We're going to use one for the salad and one to put our noodles in when the time comes. So let me give this a stir. And just to make sure all of these mushrooms are cooking down evenly. And we're getting there. It's happening quickly, but you can already see how much they're just kind of like melting. That's what you want. Now you can do this with a variety of different mushroom types. I'm using the cremini mushrooms today, but you could use shiitake here. They work very well. There's a few out there that you can use. So it's not like, you know, only one type of mushroom can do it. These are readily available. Anyone can find them. And I think their texture is great. Shiitake is also great. I would definitely recommend those because they just, and I just love the flavor and texture. So those would be probably my top two for this specific recipe. But I do like the cremini mushrooms. I don't know why. Just something about them I think really works well with this. Now I'm just gonna, while this is going, I'm just gonna open up my can of tomatoes. There are recipes where you can just use tomato paste to make this, but I like getting the actual tomatoes in and cooking them down a bit. Just my preference. And we'll be making an arugula salad, so what I'm going to do is just kind of rinse off my arugula here. And then what we need really is our spices. And what we can do actually, if I have some tomato paste, maybe I will add a little now just to kind of build that if I have something that's open. See, one of the nice reasons for popping into these live ones is we kind of just do things as we go and how they come up. And who knows what's going to come up. So I do have some tomato paste here. What I'm going to do is add a little bit right now. Add the rest of this container. And this is just going to build more richness as these mushrooms cook down. I'm also going to get my spices. Just give me a second here. So the more you cook down tomato paste, you bring out a bit more of its rich flavor. And considering we're not using red wine, this might be a decent substitute to kind of build some of that flavor. And this is around the time you would add it. Now we're also going to add a couple spices, which I will go grab as soon as I kind of get this mixed in. And we want to cook this down for a few minutes, really, until it turns like a brick red color. I'm going to add some dried thyme and some smoked paprika. I'm going to get some tamari to, again, kind of build some of that umami flavor. Now, obviously, if you've been around here before, you know how much that I love using tamari. It's one of my favorite ingredients. There are very few ingredients. I think I use more than that. Maybe garlic and onion. But it's super versatile. You could use it in so many ways, particularly if you're trying to get like a meaty flavor. But just look how beautiful the base of this already looks. And we're not even done adding flavor here. So we're going to add some dried thyme. We're going to add some smoked paprika. Again, to get kind of build that smoky flavor here. Also gonna add a little bit of oregano, which I don't usually do, but I'm feeling something a little different today. So why not? See how it goes. So we get those herbs in. We'll wait for these to become fragrant, which should not take long. Also, actually, this would be a good time to add and start cooking down these walnuts. Kind of break them down a little bit in this mixture here. So we'll let that all kind of cook down. And we'll get this all playing nicely here. And that smell already is just amazing. So I'm just going to add a little bit of tamari here. Again, just build that umami, salty flavor. The mushrooms will take this up really well. And we'll let this cook down for about 30 seconds. You're getting that dark, kind of rich color that you see in a Bolognese. Obviously, we're not getting that with beef or meat that you're usually adding. So we're going to have to build that flavor with the walnuts, with the mushrooms, with the tamari, with balsamic vinegar, which we're going to add at the end. But also all these base ingredients that are going to make a difference. So I'm just going to back this up for a second so I can pop these seeds in the oven here. Let them do its thing. And again, we're just building a ton of base level flavor here. So when we add our tomatoes, which we're about to do, first, I'm going to add a little pepper. We're going to add our lentils. Where's my spoon? And then we're going to add our tomatoes. We're going to bring this all up to a boil. I'm also going to add a little bit of water. You can use vegetable stock, but I am going to use water today. And we're going to let this sauce cook down as we prepare everything else. And again, we want to bring this to a boil, then we'll reduce the heat. We'll cover it, bring it down to a simmer, and really cook this down. But we want that thick, rich, tomatoey sauce that Bolognese is known for, but we got to bring it up to temperature first. I'm already getting that simmering that we want. Just going to take a little bit longer here. Wow. And again, now at this point, you could cook this a lot longer than I'm going to. The longer you cook it, the better marriage of flavors that you're going to get in the long run. So cooking it longer, nothing wrong with that. But obviously for the purposes of, getting this done, we're going to let this simmer for maybe about 10 minutes once it comes to temperature here. As we build our our salad. And while, okay, so this is where we want it. So we're going to cover this mostly. We'll bring it down. And we'll come back and stir this occasionally. What I want to do is get a little bit of housekeeping done. And while I'll do that, I'll talk about liver. Since, I made a post about liver health. There's a lot of information out there, on the internet, especially when it comes to like detoxes and detox programs and should you do it? I get questions like that all the time. Here's the thing with detox programs and detoxes in general, you're always detoxing. How well and efficient you're doing it is another story, but you are always doing it. The question really is, are you supporting those detox pathways? Are you showing your liver the love that it needs to do its job? Now, I've done series on this multiple times on multiple different platforms, but there's four main pathways that your body excretes toxins, and that is pee, poop, sweat, and breath. And if you had to guess, I'll give you a second here. Which one do you think releases the most toxins? Is it pee, poop, breath, or sweat? I'll rinse this off and put this away. We'll come back with our answer. So it's actually breath. Breath accounts for about somewhere between like 60 and 70% of toxin removal, believe it or not. So by simply breathing. So are you breathing properly? Are you taking proper deep inhalations? Are you breathing through your diaphragm into your belly? Are you oxygenating all the tissues you need? Are you working your lungs properly through higher intensity exercise to increase oxygen capacity, in the lungs? So all of these things are really important. Breath work's really important. This is why having a mindfulness practice or breath work practice is crucial. You get in and out of parasympathetic and sympathetic autonomic nervous system. So that's really otherwise measured by heart rate variability. So that's a measure of how quickly you can get in and out of sympathetic, parasympathetic mode. And, the ability for you to vary is usually an indicator of either your stress levels or your ability to do that. Can you turn on and turn off sympathetic autonomic nervous system when you need to? So that's one. The other three, are you going to the bathroom? Are you having a bowel movement every day? That's something worth tracking. Are you drinking enough water so you're urinating and excreting toxins, at a reasonable rate? Generally, a good marker to start is, about half your weight in body ounces of water, up to about a gallon. After that, I wouldn't go more than a gallon. A gallon's a lot of water to have in a day. So, those are basic things that I would check. And then it's, of course, comes down to liver support. There's plenty of herbs out there: burdock root, dandelion, milk thistle, all your sulforaphane vegetables, your cruciferous veggies, garlic, onions, your berries, all your antioxidants. Those are going to all play a role in your ability to detoxify. So that is what I would look at versus a program. A detox, is more or less kind of usually like a fast, which is fine, but it's not like you're not detoxing without it. So, keep that in mind. Don't kind of fall for like the scammy type stuff. I mean, some cleanses can be useful, and maybe it's useful to do it from time to time, potentially. But it's not going to fix or reset or restart anything. It has to be part of the things that you do on a day-to-day basis. Now I'm going to check on, going to give this a stir really quick. We'll see how everything's going. We're also going to check on our seeds. See how they're doing. This is already looking really good, but this could use, I'd say, another like 10 minutes or so. So give it a stir. Wow, that's good. Okay. The squash we'll check on in a little bit. What I say for, so another 10 minutes. This is all going to work out really well. Okay. These seeds only need a couple more minutes. You want to get a little bit of browning on them, so I'm just giving them a toss, a little turn, just so they evenly cook. So that'll go back in. In the interim, we're going to make our salad dressing. So we'll come over here. Let's lower this. We'll come closer to kind of what we're doing here. Good. All right, so my base ingredient is going to be tahini. I just like making tahini-based dressings. They have a creamy component. It's closer to a whole food, than an oil is. Even though sometimes I'll use extra virgin olive oil, I prefer tahini when I can. I like the creamy dressing, especially because we're using an arugula salad, which is pretty light. So using tahini as a base will give kind of a rich, creamy component. Plus, you get all the benefits of sunflower seeds. Sesame seeds, sunflower seeds. So that's going to be our base. I'm going to grab 2 different vinegars for this one. 3, because 1 I'm going to add to our sauce. 1, 2, and 3. So the dark balsamic vinegar, the traditional, I guess, balsamic vinegar, we're going to add to our sauce when it's done. But to this, we're going to add a little bit of apple cider vinegar. You could use red wine vinegar. I was actually going to, but I only have a little bit, and I want to use it for something else this week. And just to add a little sweetness, and this is a specialty item, don't expect you to have this, but this is a peach balsamic, so it's a little sweet. Add a little kind of sweet touch to our dressing here. A little bit brighter. So we'll give this a mix. Might add a little water to this because this is a little thick, but let's check the taste first. Pretty good. I also didn't add salt. Gotta do that. I'm gonna add a touch of water. I'll give this a mix. Also add a little salt. You want to incorporate all this as evenly as you possibly can. And this is more of the consistency that we want. So let's make sure we have and the taste is there, just a little bit. Touch, smidgen, salt. All right, and our salad dressing is complete. I'm just going to put this stuff away. And I'm just going to check in. Oh, snapped up on me. On our sauce here. Give it a stir because we have a few minutes left before we touch it up. But it's coming together nicely. It's almost at the consistency we want. A little bit longer, but we want to make sure nothing's sticking to the bottom. So that is taken care of. What I do want to do very quickly is check on my seeds here. Could also check on the squash, but one thing at a time. So these are almost where I want. I think these could go a little longer. A little longer. And then, let me just put this away quick, because I do not need it. Okay. So finally, we could check. I'm not sure if this is done yet. Might be a little under, but it's worth checking at this point, which is our spaghetti squash. So we're gonna pop this out of the oven and give it a flip. Oh wow, this actually looks pretty good. Okay. So I'll make sure that we can officially do a little bit of a scrape here. Actually, this could go a little bit longer. So a couple more minutes and this will come together here. Where was I going with that liver stuff? So, okay, so liver. So my point is with the detoxes, I wouldn't get too caught up in the quick stuff because, like I said, you're always detoxing. Melatonin, so sleep. Melatonin is a super, super potent antioxidant, and that is most abundant when we're sleeping. So if we're getting good quality sleep, that's going to be good for your melatonin production. So getting enough quality sleep, good quality sleep, is going to positively affect your ability to produce melatonin and also detoxify. And again, all of those nutritional factors that we talked about too. So your antioxidants, A, C, and E, those are your big ones, at least in vitamins. Selenium, nuts and seeds primarily. Zinc, also nuts and seeds and beans. These are magnesium, also beans, leafy greens. These are going to be your foods where you find the majority of this. And if you look, at where most Americans are getting their nutrition from, those are the nutrients that are usually missing as we skew towards improving or including more nuts, seeds, beans, pulses, chickpeas, lentils, you know, these things are going to improve and ultimately, you know, give you those things you need to detoxify better. So, you know, it is multifactorial. It's not super simple. It's not like a one-size-fits-all thing. But those are some basics that I would make sure that you're nailing down even before including, you know, a lot of those herbal remedies. Because if you're not hammering the basics, you know, it's going to be tough to get to where you want to go. But that's the truth. I just got to wipe down my station here and get ready to do some serving. Okay, so let's check in on our sauce. Come with me, and you'll see. Let's give this a taste. Good. All right, I like this. So I'm going to do is add a little bit of this balsamic vinegar to bring like a sweeter kick. We're not getting, again, the red wine, so bringing some flavor another way, in this case using balsamic vinegar, can kind of build that richness quickly in a way that, you know, you can kind of mimic in hours. You could do it in minutes. And again, that's kind of where we want to be with this. Oops. Add a little bit more here. Then we'll give it a taste. Your imagination. All right, and our sauce is rocking. Wow. That is pretty good. It could use a little salt, which is not that surprising, but most of our flavor is there. What also is there is our seeds. So I'm going to take these out, set those aside. I'm also going to bring over a hot plate because what I got next is fork out our spaghetti squash. Let me just clean some of this up. We'll let that cook down a little bit. I'm going to add a little salt. All right, and we'll give this one more taste here. Wow. I'm going to let this cook open, simmer for another minute or so while we're kind of doing our thing here. But what I want to do is take out our squash and start letting that kind of cool off a bit. Okay. So this is hot, obviously. And the silicone mats are great, man. Should have invested in these a long, long time ago. Better late than never, right? Now, I'm going to do first is flip these over. Okay. Let these kind of cool for a second here. Also going to get a serving plate. I'm also going to get parsley because I'm going to serve this with parsley. So, what I am going to do next, so we'll take apart, deconstruct the spaghetti squash. And then it'll be time to serve this up. Now, I actually did this dry, so I didn't add any oil, any any other kind of salt, pepper to this. I like doing it kind of plain, and then it'll take on the flavor of our sauce. So we got to fork out as many noodles here as we can. And this is hot. Normally you would let this cool a bit, but for the sake of time and getting this moving, we're going to do our best here. Like I said, I have a bowl kind of right here. I'm going to leave that. To put our noodles into. And then we could get rid of the rinds. I'm glad I pulled it when I did because this is a good texture. I remember the sauce is going to be hot, right? So it's going to kind of cook these down a little bit. If you cook these longer, then you run the risk of it getting a little bit mushy and then you don't get any spaghetti squash. You just get soft squash. So I'm just going to give this sauce a stir quickly, and then we'll get to the other half. Because again, I'll cook it open just so it thickens a little bit. And then we'll make our salad, and we're going to have a full dinner to bring to you. Very plant-based Italian style dinner, which I know I'm happy about. I know Diana's going to be happy about it. It's going to be good. So same deal. I'm just going to use a fork to kind of shred all this down. I'm kind of just shredding towards the middle, and then I'll dump it into this bowl I have over here. And yeah, tough to get all of it on one screen because this is kind of a two-hand process. Like I said, normally I'd let this cool off a little bit longer, but we don't want you sitting around, do we? With nothing to do. So we'll run the risk. Luckily, this glove I can easily wash. Okay, so we have our noodles. I'm going to just set this tray aside out of the way so it cools off. I don't need to deal with it. Just going to rinse my glove here. So we have our noodles next. Oh, we need to build our salad. So, gotta find my seeds. And those seeds we toasted are just going to go straight in to this arugula salad. It was a little hot, so I'll let that cool off. And then we're just going to pour over our dressing here. And then we'll give this a mix. Dressing's good. Yeah. Now we're just going to give it a toss. And we have a delicious salad we could serve with our pasta here. Or our spaghetti squash, I should say. So very simple, light. We'll bring like a sweeter component, contrast to kind of like a heavier, more umami type dish. It's brighter. It's cool. It's a good contrast. I think with flavor or with cooking, temperature is something that's often overlooked. But having a cool component and, a hot component, I think can really elevate the home cook. My opinion. All right, so our salad's looking good. I can set this aside. Just make sure it's all of our arugula leaves get all the love they deserve. Now, it's going to be time to build the plate. So, let's grab our sauce. I'm just going to turn off the stove. So let me do that. Yeah, I don't need this pen. Don't know how that got there, but such is life. Okay. We're going to be building a plate here. So good, we got it. Just need a serving spoon for our sauce here. Well, I'm not gonna lie, this might be one of the better ones I've made. I'm very excited about this. Okay. So what else do I have? I have my parsley that I'm gonna top this with, and I want to grab some red chili flakes with some heat. Where are they? Almost there. There we go. Okay. So we'll serve it in a large plate. You can do this in a bowl, but we're going to go at the bottom, a little bit of our sauce. We're going to top that with our spaghetti squash here. Some noodles in the middle. I've learned building vertically helps with presentation. We're also going to add a little bit of our sauce kind of over the top. Some parsley kind of all over. Very elegant. I usually don't serve things this way. More high-end restaurant. But why not? And the salad will go on the side. I'm not going to put it on this plate, but a little bit of red chili flakes. And voila. You have your lentil, mushroom, walnut, bolognese with spaghetti squash. Very good. So, thank you all for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed this. We'll be back in April, a couple weeks, with another one. Not totally sure what I'm going to do with, but I will take requests. So if you want, keep me posted you want me to cover something different, it'll definitely be something more spring themed, considering it is now spring. I'll see you then. Much love. Take care. See you next time.